Yo, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it. We back. We are back. Been forever. I need my bifocals. I've been looking at the computer screen all day today. So even though these don't actually have a prescription on them, I need them. So I'm wearing them. Okay, so hey guys, been gone for 2 weeks, and I am happy to be back. I apologize for that hiatus. I had a I can't remember what happened 2 weeks ago, but it was something. I was sick. That's what it was. I was feeling like absolute crap. And then last week, um, I had the 10-year dating anniversary with my wife. So there was no way I was doing the calls. I apologize for that. So hello to all of you. I see there's already 3 people here. Say what's up. Let us know where you from. Uh, but again, I'm happy to be here. My wife and I, we celebrate our wedding anniversaries as well as dating anniversaries. So that's interesting. I'm not sure if others of you do that, but I certainly do it. I think it's a great thing to be able to spend some extra time to celebrate, and it must be more important than business. Um, but once again, as always, we're back. I hope you guys didn't forget about me. And we are here to continue to teach y'all how to start your own call center. So if you got any questions about that, about life, about business, we are here to help. Hey, Marika, uh, Florida, Florida. I'm assuming the SO means South Florida. So awesome. Good to see you in here. Welcome, 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 welcome. Let's see. All right. So, just 2 minutes in right now. I typically wait till about 5 minutes in before I start answering any question. So I'm just going to chill around. Um, I can't remember if there's any real announcements right now. I guess one announcement is that if I haven't mentioned it before, I'm getting back into the call center space. I thought it was important to make sure that I was eventually back in the call center space with my own call center, even though I sold mine in 2019. Because when you're teaching a subject, you want to also participate in it, or else you can lose your edge, right? The industry, there's a lot of principles and those sorts of things that you learn in the course, and in the community, we talk about what's hot. But if you're not in the business and you're just an instructor, how can you really keep a pulse on things? How can you really know what's cutting edge and what's really happening right now in the industry? You can't. And so, I'm launching a call center. Uh, it's called Vandu Virtual. I'm very excited about it. Like I said before, if I ever got back in the call center space, I would outsource. I would hire people internationally, and so that's what we're doing. Got a couple partners in it. I do recommend, if you can, to have a partner in your business. That way, you can get certain things done that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. But most importantly, in this case, we're hiring out of Zimbabwe, and I'm very excited about that. There was somebody that messaged me on LinkedIn. Hey, Lynn, Pittsburgh, awesome, awesome. Good to see you here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, so we've got some fantastic people from Zimbabwe. Hey, Omer, good to see you in here as well. Omer is actually a Turkish guy, and for my staffing company, we're considering using some of his people. So if you're looking for Turkish talent, that's the guy. Um, so long story short, again, for this call center, we're using people from Zimbabwe. It used to be sort of a tough location, right? They dealt with one of the worst hyperinflation periods of any country on the planet in history. Wasn't the worst, but it was pretty high. They were the country where you could get a quadrillion bill. You could have a bill for quadrillion, and it wasn't even worth that much. Uh, but that was under this president called Robert Mugabe, who was a dictator, who was a piece of crap. That guy's gone. New guy is nowhere near what that guy is. He's no like crazy oligarch, crazy dude. And so where the country still has a lot of stuff it's going through. Certainly not like a war zone. It never really was, but certainly not a war zone. It's certainly not dealing with crazy hyperinflation. And we're in a situation where there's all kinds of talented people that are just ready to work. They're just ready to, be productive, build, situation for their families to live off of. And there's some great stuff there. They already had, for all the crap that was going on, they already had a fantastic, great development. They've got some nice metropolises with skyscrapers, glass wall building. They've got a great situation down there. There's also a decent amount of white people down there, and when that happens, there's usually a good amount of development as well. Um, but it's just a great country. I'm really excited to go down there. Okay, so it's been 6 minutes, so I'm going to start answering questions. Let's see. So I didn't have any prepared questions this time around. So I'm just going to make up some questions as I've done a few times before in the past and then just start answering them. Unless you guys got questions, I always prioritize answering them. For those of you that are here for the first time, again, what I typically do is I try to have some questions that I'm prepared to answer. But if someone has questions during this live Q&A, I prefer and I prioritize answering those questions first. So whatever you guys got, shoot. In the interim, let's see. I was literally just on a call with someone that I was sort of consulting him a little bit. Real sharp guy. They're gonna do it big. Um, and so his question was, man, I hate answering this question in public, but I'm gonna do it anyway. How do you feel about workers in the Philippines? Okay, so that's the first question that he asked, and I answer the question all the time. And the way I'll answer it is like this. There's obviously a lot of talent in the Philippines, and I think if you spend enough time dealing with customer service departments or what have you with different companies, especially newer ones, then at some point you probably will come across a Filipino that helps you out, and you might not even realize it. Like maybe, if you're not paying ridiculous attention, you might not notice that they have an accent at all. I personally notice the mannerisms at this point more so than any type of accent. Only because I personally employed dozens and dozens of Filipinos, so you start to pick it up. Um, so anyway, the quality of the talent is really good there. There's two issues as it relates specifically to the call center space. The first is that the infrastructure, while solid, their power grid is sort of susceptible to them being an island. They're literally an island, and as an island, like a tropical island, they get all kinds of crazy weather, and that crazy weather sometimes can knock out portions of the entire power grid. And so when that happens, you got people through no fault of their own that just aren't able to work for a few hours because of the power being out. And so, unless you got like these sort of giant sort of BPO facilities there that you somehow have, you're usually going to be working with people that are working from their own places. And if they're not making a crap load of money, they're not living in the middle of the large cities like Manila and Cebu City. They're living like sort of what feels a bit like a village. Um, hey, my dog just ran by. Um, and so in the villages, obviously the infrastructure is not the same as the city. Internet's not quite as fast. You might hear a little rooster in the background or something, which is interesting. But more importantly, their power is obviously going to be less stable than the middle of one of the bustling metropolises there. So whenever there is a weather event, they end up pretty susceptible. So that was one of the issues. the uptime of the workforce is not perfect, especially when you're working with um, individual like freelance talent from the Philippines. The other piece is that the workforce has evolved a lot, right? Because everyone wants a piece of the Philippines in terms of working with the freelancer. There's like so much. It's not like a giant nation, right? And there are people obviously working outside of working for Western companies. Um, and so a lot of the really quality people are becoming harder and harder to find because they're getting paid more. You to pay somebody $2-3 an hour, which I never thought was very great in the first place, so I never did that. But you used to be able to pay $2-3 an hour and consistently find people that you want to work with. Now you're not really consistently finding them unless you get lucky, and frankly, the person is undervaluing themselves and you're underpaying them. It happens, but it's not the great relationship. And what will happen is that person that's working for you might have other people that they know that are making $5 an hour, and they're going to keep in contact and communication with that friend that's making $5-6 an hour until they find an opportunity and leave you in the dust because you're not paying them $5 an hour. Now, $5 an hour isn't a big deal, but you need to recognize that it's going to cost at least 5 to 6, and the really good talent is at least $10 an hour in order for you to retain them. When I had Vicky Virtual, we did have a sales guy from the Philippines. We were paying him $3,000 a month as sort of a base salary because that's how good he was. He was located in the Philippines and he was Filipino, and we had to pay him a base of $3,000 a month to retain him. So the market there, the workforce there, had become very advanced. It has evolved, and you just can't have the same dynamic with those workers that people used to have. And so when you're looking for certain people, you have to treat the Philippines differently now. And I want people to be made fully aware of that. And again, any of you guys that might have questions, feel free to ask. Again, I'm just sort of talking and answering questions, but whatever questions you guys have, please ask so I can prioritize answering those. Now, another question that comes up a decent amount. So Amir asked, oh, this is a really good question. It would be good to share what steps you have taken so far to create your new call center business, right? Because I'm in the middle of launching a new one. So I'll share that. In fact, I should have been doing sort of a Twitter thread. That would have been smart. I'm going to do that. I'm going to write that down. I'll answer this in a second, but I need to write this down. And I'm still being ridiculously sort of old school here. I went away from like a pad and into individual 4x6 pieces of paper that I write notes on. And this is how I do my to-do list currently. And so, you just got it in front of you, you cross it out physically, and you get it done. That's a tip. Okay, so write Twitter threads on, hey, Mark, starting a call center. Okay. Good to see you, Mark. Mark's in California. Okay. But I can share here essentially what I have been doing. Now, in this case, we're working with Zimbabweans, and the nice thing is that my partners actually did a lot of the work before I came on board. They reached out to me and ended up joining my course because they were looking. The primary issue is that they were looking for more clients. So that's where it made sense for them. But when I had conversations with them, again, they told me what they were working on. I was really excited. So Zimbabwe, again, is a place that had gone through a lot, but it's a nice, calm, stable country. And So the average worker there, the unemployment rate is very high, but it's also one of the most educated countries in Africa. I believe it's the fourth most educated country in Africa. And so, you've got the same schooling system as the US. You got, the 12 years of, well, you got the 13 years for kindergarten and then the 12th grade system. And then you've got a 4-year college and then usually about a 2 to 3 year post college program. And so the education system is really good. The main one, the best one, University of Harare, is really good. And so also all of the classes from kindergarten on up are all in English. Every single one of the classes are in English. And so the people that we're working with, they sound better than I do. Like I have a certain way of talking, they're better than me. Um, and so what my partners did was actually during the pandemic they got started, and at the time there was sort of a curfew because they were trying to contain the spread. So in order to have people working, they actually set up these campuses, and what they did was they rented out these houses that were unoccupied, nice houses in the main city Harare, and they set up living, working environments. So they have people living there for free, and then in addition, paying them a salary about 2 to 3 times what a teacher would make, or a police officer or something. And in addition, they have the workstations like downstairs at this work. So they've got like these micro campuses, and the micro campuses, which again people can live on. They've got fiber internet, so it's really fast and reliable. They got these workstations. They got people cooking them food. They've got freaking cleaners. It sort of feels like Google in the middle of Zimbabwe. And so they had about 25 full timers working when they came to me. And I had always had, I was like, hey, if I start another call center, like I've been saying, if I start another call center, I want to work with overseas talent. And so this was perfect, right? Again, you got the Philippines or anywhere, if you hire anywhere, what you're dealing with is two aspects. One, making sure that the talent is good, but two, making sure that the space that they work in and their situation enables them to be reliable workers, right? Not just from a personality standpoint, but from a situational standpoint. If they don't have a quiet space in which to work, if they don't have a separate space, separate from other people in the household, right? Um, if they don't have good enough internet, if they don't have good enough like equipment, like a decent laptop and stuff, if they don't have those things, it's going to be very difficult for them to work for you. And so they did, and now I'm going to say we because I'm partnering with them now, but we solved the issue of the equipment and infrastructure by just having them either commute into the micro campus if they want to, or living on the campus for free. Don't take it out of salaries or anything. It's literally for free. And then two, making sure that we look for good quality people that are really good at English and have skills for what we're looking for, which is mainly call center agents. And so this was the missing piece for me. And so I was able to say, okay, well, now we've got the talent, we've got the infrastructure for that talent. We have someone there that is like, well, a few managers of that talent. As we grow, they've got a hierarchy. Now it's just a matter of getting clients. So, and then establishing a new company. So, in establishing a new company, we started thinking about a name. And the name that we ended up going with is called Bandu. Vandu. And the story behind that name was I actually hired a few personal assistants from there. And one of the things I randomly asked them to do was to, think of some name because I couldn't think of a perfect name. The company name that I sort of wanted to go with was called Legwork because we're not only doing call centers, but we're doing a virtual assistant thing. And so legwork, like we do your legwork for you, right, to get things done, fill in the gap. But legwork is already a pretty established VA company. So I was, for the first time in a long time, I was sort of stumped on a name. And we were thinking of some stuff. I think we had a team of VA.com or something. We already bought that domain name. But one of the guys came back and said, I really like the name Bandu. And, it sort of grew on us. We kept saying it, and we were like, it's really easy to say. It's just 5 letters. It sort of sounds African a little bit. You can almost think that it's some type of tribe. It's not. But, sort of almost sounds like one. Like, let's Vandu. Join the Vandu tribe, right? And I already have the tribe with my course, so I've got that energy going. And so, yeah, like I also, another tip, I try not to spend way too much time figuring out what the name's going to be, right? And so we went with Bandu. And so I started building out a site at banduva.com. Not quite done, but you can take a look. The homepage is sort of done. Yeah, we're going to be providing services in terms of call center as well as virtual assistant. Now, we already have our first few clients. Hey, thank you, Mark. We already have our first few clients. Frankly, they just came from my network, right? One of the nice things about running a call center and having a bunch of clients is that not all of them are one still client, especially 2.5 years after you sold your company. I'm not like competing with Vicky Virtual. I'm not in the non-compete anywhere any more with Vicky Virtual, but also I'm not poaching any client that are currently clients of Vicky Virtual, because plenty clients, the business Vicky Virtual grew, but that still means there's some churn, and some of the clients that I'm still friends with were past clients of Vicky Virtual and are still open to being a call center client. And so from my network, which I haven't even really tapped into yet, we have sort of some pilot clients that we've been onboarding. So we just launched last Monday. We started serving our first few clients, and I'm pretty excited about that. And yeah, we're just learning. I'll continue to share as we continue to work on things. But yeah, I'm going to start to do a thread on it. But the process is the same, right? You come up with a name, you come up with the website, you build it. In our case, we're not worried about money like I was last time, so we just went ahead and registered the business. This time we're registered in Canada as opposed to the US, which I've actually never done before. So that's cool. Yeah, I mean, the two things that are different is that it's going to be 3 of us instead of me and one other guy. It's a Canadian registration, and our people are overseas now instead of based in the US. I'm still excited about, and even when breaking it down, and I'm just going to be fully transparent with all of you, our plan is to sort of get to about $1,500 a month in revenue per agent on the VA side, the virtual assistant side, but about $3,000 per month per agent on the call center side. So the call center side is more profitable, and we plan on making that side much larger because it's just more profitable. Now on the Vicky Virtual side, we actually charge more, and we make about $45,000 to $5,000 per agent, and that's based off of Vicky Virtual pricing, which actually is becoming sort of low. If you use something like Ruby Receptionist, which I bring them up all the time, they're like sort of the gold standard in terms of pricing, being premium, but they're also, a 9-figure company. And so, there's clearly demand even at that price point. And I'm going to guess they probably make about, honestly, $9,000 to $10,000, probably about $10,000 per agent in revenue, maybe a bit more than that. So, it's a very profitable side, and it's way easier to run than the VA side. But the goal with Vandu is to try to grow that to about 5,000 agents. We've got 35 right now. We want to build that to 5,000 agents. Sort of a social impact project for me as much as it is a business project. And again, it's a great way to work with, African and be in a situation where we can make a real impact, right? Um, no matter where you hire from, even in the U.S., one of the beautiful things when I was doing Vicky Virtual, we grew to over 100 people. You're able to give people a way to make money and put food on the table, and you're doing it in a way that is everyone is getting a valuable, positive experience. The workers that are working for you are happy to be doing their job. It's not some difficult call center job. They're not hawking something that doesn't make sense. They're simply, providing a service that every one of our clients actually needs. You as a business owner, you're not, doing shady stuff like, some product that, there's a cheaper version somewhere else, but you're overcharging because you got good marketing, right? Uh, you're not screwing your clients over in any way. There's no gray area. It's pure black and white. You're providing a good quality service that provides real value and has an essential impact. It's a utility for your client. And so, being able to sleep peacefully at night, knowing that you're providing a good job for your agents and providing a good service, valuable service that you didn't just sell them on to your client. When you got both sides of that going, you're in a great business. And again, your stress levels will be a lot lower. And, you'll just be able to feel good about yourself. So that's why I'm excited. That's why we did that. And that's all I've got for now on that. I really talked for a while, but Omer, good for you to have me talk about that. Any other quick questions? While I'm here, I started late today. Uh, One thing I didn't tell you guys is that my website. I didn't know this, but my call center caster's website was down. I don't know how long. Let's say 3-4 days. I really need to put something in place. There was something that we use with Vicky Virtual that would ping me. I'm going to write that down. I think it's a site pinger. Ping Tools. I think it's called pingtools.com. But basically, it was sort of constantly ping the site, maybe every 30 seconds or something, maybe every minute, to make sure that it's up. And so whenever it's down, you'll get a ping. You know it before anybody else knows it, and you get to it. The reason I found out my site was down with my credit card processing company, Stripe, was like, hey, your site was down. We're going to pause payouts to your bank account if you don't get this back up. So, man, I just had to deal with that and I solved that. And that's why this thing started late. So I apologize for that. And any of you that were looking to get in on the program potentially over the last 3, 4, maybe 5 days, I don't even know. I apologize if the site was down. Very embarrassing. Very embarrassing. But yeah, with that said, again, I appreciate you all being here. And any other question, feel free to ask. I'm still here for about 10 minutes or so. Then we've got our tribe call. I got a question for anybody on the call right now. Does anyone use a record player nowadays? I've been considering getting a record player again. I want to kick it old school and start collecting some vinyl. Get a record player. There's just something about. I'm old enough that I grew up with a record player. My parents had one going, playing 70s music, disco, Cool in the Gang, you know, all kinds of Earth, Wind, and Fire, all kinds of great music. And then we moved on to CDs, and then we moved on to MP3 players, and that whole LimeWire thing, trying to rip music off the internet. And now we get music pretty much for free on Spotify or Apple Music or YouTube. Just hop on and listen to any song. Uh, Marika, when will be your next live training? I'm not quite sure what you mean when you ask that. Because I guess there's a lot of people with courses that they like sort of do in a cohort. Like, oh, I'm going to be running my next course starting on June 15th. My course is actually you buy it in self-paced. So it's a set of pre-recorded video and you immediately have access and you just dive through it at your own speed, literally in the next 5 minutes if you want. Um, and in addition, you get access to the community. We do a weekly sort of call with our students that want to hop on every Wednesday, just about every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, so in 10 minutes. But as far as the course, it's not live. It's pre-recorded. You just go on and watch the video, and you'll work your way through the course. So yeah, I figured that would be better because I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't have it in me to do live training over and over and over and over again with a cohort. And it's actually really difficult. The guy I was actually on a call with, he has a course himself. Um, and he was trying to do the cohort thing, but I sort of suspect that within a year or so, we're gonna maybe move away from that. And the reason is because you've got different people that have different schedules and learn at different paces, have different amounts of time to do things. And so when you have a live thing going on, yeah, it's not everyone's able to get the same amount of value. But when you have a course, you can people can work through it and absorb at their own pace in the way they would like. Um, Nice, Lynn. Your daughter uses a record player, so she understands. She got an old soul. Okay, so her question was, are the clients for your call center in Zimbabwe? They're all Western-based clients, so they're going to be in Europe, uh, Canada, and America. Those are the main, and maybe Australia. But right now, we actually have four total partners. One guy is handling Europe and sort of the enterprise large client. I'm handling the sort of small medium business clients in the US and Canada. And then the two guys are like responsible for making sure that the staffing is good and that our agents are set up and doing their thing. We're going to have to set up, we already have 3 micro campuses. So we're going to continue doing that to slowly get to 1,000 and then 5,000 people. So, yeah. So, yeah, because it would be very difficult to very difficult to sell to people that can't really afford it. Um, like if their businesses aren't making the same type. If if things, you can't have American pricing for a company that is not America. Simple as that. Or at least in the West. So I hope that answers your question. Marika, I hope I answered your question properly. Sometimes live training means, just a webinar. I haven't done a webinar in a while. Sometimes it means the course being a live training, which, I answered that. Or sometimes it just mean these Q&As, which I do almost every week, Wednesdays at 7:30 Central. So hope that answered that. Okay, Omer asked, after launching the website and all that, even though we know how things work, the first customer becomes a kind of test subject. How do we handle that process? Do you mean in terms of landing clients, Omer, or Lynn? Let me quickly answer Lynn's question. Lynn asked, do you have sample calls the client can listen to? We do plan on doing that, but actually what I think we're going to do instead, and I literally just saw this on a different website the other day. I can't remember the name of the website, but they simply recorded the greeting. And the greeting is like 6 or 7 seconds, but you can tell from the greeting. Oh, yeah, I'm here every week, Marika. So the greeting is like 5 or 6 seconds, but you can hear in the greeting whether someone had good English skills, and you'll be able to hear it. You know, hi, my name is Donald. Thank you. I can't even do the greeting. Thank you for calling Bandu Virtual. This is Donald. How can I help you today? So if you sound good enough in the greeting, you have like 3, 4 agents that have great voices do the greeting tab down the website, and that's like a nice little thing. Plus, you do the week-long trials or 2 week-long trials, and people can get a sense from that. Okay, but Amir asked, even though we know how first customer becomes a kind of test subject, how do we handle that process? Okay, again, I'm not sure if you're asking in terms of how do you land the client or how do you serve them. And the answer is you just gotta if you're asking how do you serve the first few clients, one, you sort of learn that in the course, but two, um, one thing that's happening is in education for me is I'm getting a sense of okay, so Amir's asking about serving. How does it feel to serve the first few clients? I think it is a slightly different dynamic working with Zimbabweans, right? It feels pretty much the same, but you still want to be sure because this is a new set of staff. There's some tiny cultural things that I haven't even noticed, but we're still sort of figuring it out. And my point is that when you start any new business, um, you have a certain amount of staff that happen to be the people you hired, and you've got to get a sense of how they work. And so it's sort of like you got to make sure that you're paying a lot more attention when you're serving the first few clients. You listen to like every single call. When you're asking them certain things, you just get a sense of how they work. And then you pay as much attention as you possibly can to the feedback. So, our first call center client, we had and we have a Slack chat going with them, which I told them at the very beginning, hey, after a few weeks, we're cutting this off because you don't want clients to be able to hit up your agents on Slack at all times. It'll be very frustrating. But in the beginning, we need to learn and iterate. We need to learn and tweak and iterate as quickly as possible. And so the point is, the goal is to take in as much feedback as possible. The more feedback you take in, the faster you can make tweaks, the faster you can start to, put in the system that are going to work for this exact setup, right? Um, Even if you follow all the stuff in my course, when you hire specific people and you have specific clients, a lot of how you run your business is going to be based off of how you're serving those few clients. A lot of the students that have come through and have learned, they have started off doing exactly what Vicky Virtual was doing, and then they just do like maybe 5% different, but in a way that makes sense for where their business is headed. But you figure that out through feedback, you figure that out through serving clients, and you figure that out through paying attention. So it's not particularly difficult. It's just a matter of paying close attention to what's happening so that nothing falling through the cracks. And you take all that information to create something better so that as you're serving more clients, you're a more put together, cohesive, on point company. So I hope that answered that question. Okay, I'm going to message the tribe. I'm going to stick around here about 10 more minutes. I started late, so I want to make sure I give you guys a bit more time. While I'm doing that, feel free to ask any other questions you guys got, because want to provide some value to you guys. Okay, where are we? Any other questions, you guys? Feel free to ask. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions you guys got? 10 more minutes. Oh man, yeah, no problem, man. Definitely happy to help. Um, yeah, so again, Lynn asked a very good question, right? And I'd like to sort of follow up on that. So, you know, Lynn was like, so you're working with international workers. Are you gonna have calls that they can like sample that they can listen to? So that's a beautiful thing. Think in that way, right? When you're building your own website, they don't have to all be based off of what I might be thinking or what's in the course or whatever. You want to think about, okay, if you were a potential client, what type of information would you want on the website? Um, you might think of some stuff that I don't always think about. And if it makes sense and it's sensible, get it on the website, right? Because if you can put yourself in the mind of a prospect and think like a prospect, then you create a much better, more compelling presentation for your prospect that connects with them better, communicates more directly with them, and get them more likely to be able to want to buy from you, right? And they buy from you when they understand you. So having a website, having a brand, having social media presence and stuff, it's partially about credibility, but it's really about education and understanding. People need to understand one that sometimes they need to learn what it is you're providing. Sometimes they need to learn how you're providing it and whether the way you're providing it works for their use case. A third thing could be whether what you're providing is something that they need. Sometimes they do need it but don't know it, and you have to guide them to that point, like educate them on why they might need it, right? And that's a process. And then four, why they should use you over the competition. And that piece, why they should use you over the competition is really just a matter of connection. If they vibe more with you, with the way your company has been put together, and frankly, no matter who you are, there's always going to be a group of people that just vibe with the way you do things, that identify with the way you do things, right? Like me sitting here doing these things, the way I talk, the way I dress, the way I presented myself. Some people might think I'm super whack, and some people might vibe with me pretty well. And so they're going to be more likely to want to be students of the course, right? If they like the way that I talk in this regard, then they might think, oh, maybe he would be a cool instructor. And so put yourself out there, put yourself in a situation where, again, if you're a prospect, that you would convince yourself to buy. If you can convince yourself to buy, you'll convince others to buy. So I hope that's helpful for you guys. Um, and yeah, I've got about 7 more minutes. Any other questions that you guys could ask? I can make up one more while we're still here. Okay, how do you feel about working from the Philippines? Um, hmm. A lot of stuff that came up in that conversation I just had was very specific. Um, he did ask about phone systems. Oh, okay. So, okay, how determine what is a good or bad phone system? So I'm gonna answer that really quickly. Okay. So how do you determine whether a phone system is good or bad? Um, so the main thing that I look for are two things. One, there's a list of questions, features, and characteristics in the phone system element that need to be covered. And frankly, I'm not going to tell you what they are, but there's a one of the bonuses in my course is literally asking all the questions that you need to know about, at least for the virtual receptionist space. to determine whether they got the features. Okay, that's part one. Part two is um, whether the tech stack that the phone system software is on. Um, Lynn asked, "What system are we using for Zimbabwe?" We're using 5.9. 5.9, 5.9, 5.9, baby. Uh, the my partners were using Avaya. Avaya is like ridiculously old school, and it's way too old school. So I actually had to migrate her to 5.9 before launching. So we're using 5.9. Um, Beautiful thing, because it's cloud based, works everywhere. So you got to make sure that the phone system you're using, um, you got to make sure that the phone system that you're using is just on the right tech stack. If it's not on the right tech stack, then it won't be reliable enough. Um, and so usually what I look for is companies that at worst sit on AWS. I don't think it's the best, but at worst it sits on AWS. If they're doing Twilio, don't use it. Don't do it. If they have their own data centers, do use it. 5.9 have their own data centers. That's why 5.9 is very good. And the big thing that it comes down to is, pretty much any phone system will say, oh, we have a certain amount of uptime. 99.997 uptime. Talkdesk has this thing to get an enterprise level plan that they guarantee it. They have an SLA, service level agreement, that guarantees a certain uptime. Relax Your Mind Act, did 5.9 have any integration? It did not. It did not have It did not have an integration. It doesn't need an integration, but it doesn't have an integration. There's sort of like a email integration thing, but I actually haven't used it before. It's a separate thing because it is an omni-channel solution, and with it being an omni-channel solution, you can handle people's emails you want to. But we never used it because we never did that. So it had that type of integration, but it doesn't have like different CRM integrations. That's usually what people are asking for. How well does it integrate with the CRM? Doesn't do that. But it does have a ridiculously good, like probably one of the most well-developed APIs I've ever seen, and like a really good library and documentation, which is extremely important for developers. It's so good that you can hire like literally any random person on Upwork to make an integration, and it'll cost you less than $1,000, and it'll work every single time. But in terms of the tech stack, again, there's companies like Talkdesk, which we used a while back, that says, "Oh yeah, we got great uptime," and what'll happen is technically the call will connect, and technically there will be some sort of a connection. But when it comes to voice, and really data in general. But when it comes to an ongoing voice conversation, when you transfer data, right? When I'm talking to you guys on this video, the reason you see me is because data coming from my computer, going into the internet, and working its way to your computers, right? And it might not come through perfectly. And that's because some tiny fragments of data could be lost. And they're all put in the packet. And the amount that's lost is called packet loss. And when there's too much packet loss, and there could be whatever reason for that. I'm not a software developer, so I'm not perfect on this. But whenever there's packet loss, that's when you can lose call. That's when things are distorted. That's when you get all kinds of echo. That's when it's like, for some reason, the call didn't connect. These voice connections are very susceptible to packet loss. And if you have a completely cloud-based thing that isn't sitting on its own data center, then packet loss is a real problem. When you're flowing your way from one computer through AWS and then working its way through a software that tried to, communicate with AWS, and then it's going to the headset, the soft phone, the software phone on their system, and then your software phone on your system is working its way through a phone line connection with someone's cell phone, with whatever cell phone network they have. Through all those different connections, there can be some packet loss. And so if you don't have the most put together freaking ironclad situation, then you end up missing a lot of calls. To give you perspective on this hard numbers, when we use TalkDesk, when I set up my Philippines-based VA company, we had 40 full-timers. At one point, we decided to switch over to TalkDesk, and we put all of our call center people on. We had like 22 agents at the time. So we did a 22 agent launch on TalkDesk, and we had a good amount of data, right? From the beginning, we were missing 30% of our calls. So that's an idea of just how intensely bad it can be. On 5.9, you don't really miss any. I mean, it does happen sometimes, but that's because it always happens. Sometimes the person calling their cell phone didn't connect properly, you know. But in terms of the system, it's extremely rock solid. So know the difference between uptime and packet loss. No one's going to tell you what their packet loss is. You'll never know until you're actually using the software. And I just don't take chances anymore. And I don't recommend you take chances either, because the phone system is the lifeblood of your call center. All right. What is the cost if we use you for hiring an overseas agent? Relax your mind. I keep forgetting. I really apologize. I feel like you're in the tribe. Are you in the tribe? I know that I know you. I just can't remember who you are, and I apologize. Okay, all right. So there are two options. One is to go through a staff. Oh, hey, Yolanda Harris. Nice to see you. Technatics. So there are two options. One, you can go through a staffing, and a staffing is $1,400 a month. You get a full timer, located in Eastern Europe. And the nice thing about that is that, like for Zimbabwe, the people pretty much always have to be on campus. And so they're always sort of a part of it. You can manage them yourself, and they're like your people, and we don't, we're not trying to burden your business at all. But it's just sort of a different dynamic. For a staffing, you can literally after 4 months buy the person out for 2 months, so $2,800, and they're your employee. We don't even know who they are anymore. They're just your overseas person. And the nice thing is that the people that we hire for a staffing, they, as a prerequisite, do have a quiet space in their home, do have solid computer, do have fast internet connection, great English. We test them on the internet connection. We have to send screenshots. They have to do it live in front of us on video, and then send a screenshot for the document. They have to do a typing test, be above a certain word per minute. They have to interview. They have to do a screening with one lady, Alec. They do an interview with my partner Harris, and they do another interview with me. I check to see that their English really is good. There's certain things that I'm able to catch that no one else apparently does currently. And then after all that, then we present them as a candidate to you, and we always give options on candidates, not like, oh, this is your person. So some of our clients decide that they want to conduct their own interview, and then select from the different candidates we presented to them, and others just say, I trust you guys, we'll just use who you recommend, and we recommend somebody. So we've got over 40 people, and I think we've got a lot of happy clients. And you always get a 1 week free trial, so you can try the person out, no charge. If it doesn't work out, we assign you someone else, or you can select someone else. You get another week-long free trial. If for some reason they leave, which does happen sometimes, right? Then of course, free replacement, free week-long trial for that new person. So I said I would do this. I didn't want to be salesy, but I said I would always let you guys know if you're wanting to join the tribe. I will always post the link every week. So that is the link. That website, again, would down. It's working now. It would down for probably the better part of a week, and I didn't even know it. So I just fixed it. It's up. Anybody that's looking to join, feel free to join. And love you all. And I will see you next week. I will absolutely be on next week. I apologize for last week. Again, anniversary with the wife. So nothing I can do about that. Hey, Nate. Nate is one of our students. Nathan stopped in to say that this concept be ahead of the game with new business ideas and concepts. A virtual call center is the future of what great and lean businesses look like. Go for it. Hey, Mark, I hope to see you in the tribe soon. Talk to Nathan if you need to. Yolanda, excited to see your journey. Lynn, great to see you here. Marika, great to meet you. Omer, can't wait to figure out some stuff with you. Have a good one, everybody, and I'll see you all next week.